Welcome to this very special Valentine's weekend edition of 15 with Fosca, featuring Jill Romanelli, head event planner at Tuscan Wedding. Whether you're dreaming about getting married in Tuscany, hoping to do so in the future, are curious about destination weddings, or just a hopeless romantic, this episode about love, the journey, and the destination is a great way of celebrating the holiday with your Valentine. Buon ascolto e buon San Valentino.
Buongiorno, Mondo, and welcome back to 15 with Fosca, the podcast. I am so happy to be speaking today with Jill Romanelli. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning.
Jill is a wedding planner based here in Florence, and I'm super happy to be talking today about something I love, which is weddings. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I cry at weddings, and I love them. And so I'm just happy to have you here so we can talk about something fun and something positive and just also like the amazing work you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I wanted to start with the fact that, yes, I am a hopeless romantic, and I had a destination wedding before it was like such a big deal. I'm going to date myself by telling you how long ago I had my first wedding, my only wedding, but my first marriage, which was in 1999. And I'm curious, and destination weddings, yes, they were happening, but they certainly weren't as popular as they are now. So what I'd like to know is, how long have you been in the business?
Yes.
And what kind of changes have you seen over the past, I don't know, at this point for me, it's like 23, 24 years, but even just over the,
Yeah. So I've been organizing events since 2009, and I think officially I've been organizing weddings since around 2014. Weddings have drastically changed since COVID, mostly because I think people were wanting that romantic moment. Maybe they had to postpone their wedding, and their dreams just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow.
So now I find that wedding planning tends to be a little bit more elaborate than it used to be. It's more of a let's, be in an editorial, or let's really show off to our friends and family, or even let's just have a really good party. So before it was quite different, and venues also cost a lot less. So now it's become a really big business.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I think that I wonder how much of that part of it is, of course, a huge part of it is COVID, because people, I think, came out sort of with a vengeance, like, okay, a sense of like immediacy. We need to do this now. We need to get married now. We need to have our dream wedding. Everything sort of became, I think, really amplified on a lot of levels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious also, because I know you love technology, as do I.
Yeah.
But I think sort of the Instagrammability of some of these venues, and, it's, I think, dangerous business for you too, because it sets the bar really high. But how has that, because technology really has boomed, right? So things like Instagram, TikTok, how have those impacted your business and also the expectations, I would say, of your couples?
Well, so I'm dating myself. I really like Facebook. Like, that's probably my preferred medium, let's say.
I hate Facebook, and I'm much older than you are.
I like reading all the stories. I love looking at the little, fights and everything. But Instagram, I got on in 2015 or 2016, because while I was wedding planning, I was also working at a school as their logistics coordinator, helping them find venues for their events, housing. And one of the students there came to work for me, and she says, Jill, why don't you have an Instagram account? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just pictures. It's very superficial. She goes, no, you need an Instagram account. So Sabrina is actually the one who started the Instagram account. And she even told me recently she felt like she created a monster, because I post every day.
Yes, you do. And your posts are great.
Some of them are. I feel like, there's that drive to post every day so that you keep people engaged. And I have to say that I do look at the people who look at my stories, and a lot of them are past brides, which makes me feel really special that they didn't forget about me. Wow. I helped them plan this special day, and they're still following and seeing my progress. So
it's the biggest day of their lives, It's probably the biggest day of most people's lives. I would imagine that they would want to they're sort of forever in your debt. I want to just leave the wedding business just for a second because I do want people to hear your story. And I want to give you like a 2-part question here.
Okay.
So I want you to tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay.
I'm
very long-winded.
It's fine. And I'll, just whatever you want. And I also like how you got to where you are today, if you will.
Okay.
But I'm also interested because you're an insider, right? Mm-hmm. You're an Italy insider, sort of the way I am. You've been living here for a long time. You're married to an Italian. I've already, spoiler alert, you have kids here.
Yeah.
So I wonder what it is that really sets you apart as a wedding planner. So for me, in addition to sort of knowing the way you are, I would feel better getting married in a place where I knew that there was someone I could trust on the inside, right? So I want to talk to you about those 2 things. So your path to where you are now, how you became a wedding planner, and then Italy. Sort of like in Italy, and why in a market that's, I imagine, pretty saturated with wedding planners, what makes you so special?
Well, I'm Jill. I mean, of course I'm special. I'm
no,
I'm
you
not,
are.
I'm not kidding. I have very big ego problems. Just saying. No, so when I was a kid, I lived in Sardinia with my dad because my dad was a pilot for NATO. And I fell in love with Italy then. And I have an anthropology background. So I studied in Florence in the Socrates program, which is like Erasmus, where you exchange students with other universities. So I got a real full immersion into Italy quickly. And I saw that I was not prepared for it because a lot of people didn't speak English.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get enrolled in my Italian classes at the university because I couldn't speak Italian. So there was no one in the office who could help me with that in the English, in the language department. So, it was kind of the hard knock way into Italian culture.
Yeah.
I also really love Italian culture. I think it's a different way of seeing the world. Like all cultures are, but it's the one I particularly like.
Yeah.
They see things in a way of beauty. Everything, I like to sing, for example. This is an example. I don't think I'm that good at singing. I think I'm mediocre, but every time I sing, the Italians are like, "Oh, you're such a good singer." And I play the violin and it's kind of mediocre, but they're just happy that I'm there to create.
Yeah.
And that is something I feel like we might miss a little bit in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to get started in the wedding business, I was working for the school and I had also started interviewing with other wedding companies because I knew that's something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And everyone said, you don't have the experience, you don't have this. And I got very frustrated. I said, how am I ever going to get the experience if someone's not going to give me a chance? And while working as what's the word? Where you have a contract. I'm sorry, I can't think of.
An employee?
I was an employee.
Oh, like a contractor.
Like a
contractor?
That's
okay.
Stupid.
That's okay.
While working as a contractor for the school, I helped with their graduation ceremony.
Okay.
It was amazing. Like we had a stage that I had built. I had my husband. My husband's a PhD in forestry. I had him send his gardeners and we built this whole garden on the stage with wonderful like tree stumps for the students to sit on and a Megatron. And I directed this all. I designed everything. And I remember the head of the school, who was a germaphobe and would not even shake your hand, put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Jill, do you do events?" And I said, "No, I don't." She goes, "You should." And I could have done it even before she said that, but it was just that little push.
Her saying it was like, yes.
So, yeah.
This is what I should be doing.
So I just started.
Good for you.
Did a photo shoot and then I started going to wedding fairs and I would get 2 brides and then maybe 3. And in 2022, I had 16 couples and 2 events. So now I'm down to 9 per year, and I'm almost sold out for 2025. So I feel like I did a good job.
That's amazing. I don't even know how you manage it. That's a lot.
I don't know how I manage it either, but I do.
That's amazing. So I'm amazed by, first of all, I want to say that it's nice that sometimes it does take somebody sort of to show us the way. I mean, you already knew it, but it took that one person sort of validating you and saying, you can do this. And I like the fact that you took matters into your own hands and you said, you know what, nobody's going to give me the chance. I'm just going to try, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that you found definitely a place in the market. But I really want to go back to sort of the intricacies of what your job entails and how hard it is.
Very hard.
It's impossible, I think. And so if I start, I organized high level events for a long time when I was at Stanford. I know everything that could potentially happen, let's say, not go wrong, but happen.
Yeah.
And all the surprises. But I think an element where I think, destination weddings are different is the cultural element. So you were saying before how much you love Italian culture and how that feels so comfortable to you. So I wonder so I see you as so many things, but also as a cultural facilitator.
Definitely.
I mean, and a therapist, you
Definitely.
have to keep people calm. You're dealing with lots of emotions. I bet you've also dealt with like a lot of drama. So I wonder, working predominantly with people from the US, but let's just say foreigners. And for those who don't really know Italian culture, how do you find yourself sort of in that role? How do you facilitate things culturally if people are just thinking of the Instagrammability of their wedding, right? I want a Tuscan wedding, but maybe they don't really fully understand the intricacies of the culture. How do you do that?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. I do want to put this point in because I do hope someone listens to it. It's frustrating for me when couples come and they want to use Italy as a backdrop. The backdrop is there because of the culture, because all of the history. So you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
So if you have a beautiful, let's say, welcome dinner down at the rowing club, don't get upset when there are actually people rowing down by the Ponte Vecchio, which has happened in the past. I've had couples get upset. So I try to explain things to people. I try to set their expectations. I normally get a pretty good sense of them because I am a military kid. I did move every 18 months of my life. So I can normally figure out if this person and I mesh well or not, because that's important too. I might not be for everyone.
It's fundamental.
And that's completely fine. There's no hard feelings there. And then I really get to know the person and try to make them love Italy as much as I do. And it normally works out that way. I'd say 9 times out of 10, it works out that way.
Okay.
So.
Thank goodness. And I think it is because you have this very particular background and, you do have such a deep understanding of this culture, but you have lived in other places in the world. So you do have this sort of openness. And I wonder, how do you earn your clients' trust? Because I imagine at the beginning, there's definitely some before you decide to take on a client, you probably have a couple of meetings via Zoom or something. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that? And then how do clients then come to trust you? What is it about Jill that makes, couples entrust the biggest day of their life to you? It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's for sure. No. I was just thinking about the pressure and I just felt weighted down for a second.
I'm so sorry. Okay. I wanted to keep things light. We were talking about love.
No. I just try to put myself in their shoes. Sometimes I find recently that I'm getting older and the younger clients I have, I'm like, I don't really know where you're coming from, but I always try to put myself in their shoes and think, I want to get married abroad. I like this. This is something I'm passionate about. What's going to make me nervous? What are some of the, concerns I have getting married abroad? And I just try to call those out before they even ask.
Okay.
So I can normally tell after a first or second call how the person is.
Okay.
And I just try to write down. I say, I think you're concerned about this, 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 and this. I said, this is how I will deal with it.
Okay.
This is how I will deal with it. A lot of times these weddings are like buying a home because you are putting it's
a lot of money.
It's a financial obligation. There's family involved. It's one of the most important moments in your life.
Yeah.
So, as a planner, you have to be very patient. sometimes I have vendors that will come back and will be like, well, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're asking a lot of money. We can give them a detailed explanation onto where everything is going and what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So. I'm curious. This is just me being like a little snarky, but like the strangest requests you've gotten that are just so culturally inappropriate. Can you give me an example or two? Just like, I don't know, I think about American weddings, right? Which are,
I feel kind of, I don't, because I
don't want to embarrass you. No, but
not me. No, but mostly the brides, the brides, because I've always liked the requests because I'm a little quirky. I'm a little eccentric, a lot eccentric. So I like eccentric requests. We did have a New Orleans style parade in the center of town last year.
How did you manage that? Did you have to get
we got permission.
Yeah, I knew that.
And we had to talk to musicians. There was also a soccer riot going on in Piazza della Signoria. So we had to redirect our parade.
Was it one of those terrible days where it was
they
one
were
of those
launching smoke bombs in the piazza?
Right. I remember that day. That was one of the city was literally paralyzed. I couldn't get anywhere that day. I remember that very well. So how did you manage that?
Well, we just had the band go around the Uffizi, and then we had the photographer fighting with the videographer because he wanted to get a shot in Piazza della Signoria. I was like, no, I've already told the musicians, this is the way. They're going this way. Everybody's going this way. And at one point I was walking in front of the bride, and I turned around and I just saw her crying, and she goes, oh my gosh, this is the best day of my life. And I don't think I'll ever lose that image in my mind.
You need it.
Like I was a little embarrassed to do it. I tried to have it go on and on so that we wouldn't actually have to do it. Yeah. But then in the end, she was insistent about it. So I said, okay, this is important to her. We're going to do it.
And it made her really happy. And
it did.
Consequently made you really happy.
It was
and it set
a wonderful
the tone.
Moment.
It set the tone. And, people are asking, as I mentioned before, because I really don't want to put too much pressure on you, but it does feel like a lot of pressure to me.
It is a lot of pressure.
And I wonder how much part of it is obviously your personality and being able to handle multiple things. But I wonder also how much of it is sort of, do you think Italy has taught you about the art of improvisation, if you want to say? Italy is the unpredictable in a lot of ways.
My dad is a colonel, so
maybe in part your military background keeps you, has that right. But you've got there's a very human aspect to the work that you do.
Yeah, of course, because I care. It is a job, but I do care. I care a lot about the people.
But it's not a normal job. You know what I mean?
No.
It's a big responsibility, and you have to have various talents that are not obvious.
You have to improv, but you can't lose. I think instead of improvisation, you have to have really good vendors. You have to have people that you work with that have your back. I'm really there if things go wrong. I'm there if they're throwing smoke bombs off in Piazza della Signoria
and you have
redirect.
To redirect, right?
I'm there if, the bus goes missing with all the bridesmaids on it. That also happened.
Did that happen?
It did. But, we found them and the priest stayed. So,
But see, I love this stuff because, wow, it's so exciting. Like every wedding is a show. You're putting on a show.
Yes.
Spettacolo. It's really become a spettacolo, a spectacle, right?
It is. We have props. Mm-hmm. Everybody plays their parts. I've been in between mothers and daughters. Recently, I've been in between mother-in-laws and brides. And I always tell them if they're fighting, I said, guys, it doesn't matter. You're fighting over silly things. Let's try to find a way to compromise together so that we can, go through this day and it's pleasant for everyone.
It's so hard. You have to do all of this hand holding and all of this calming the waters. And on that note, because now I realize that you have so many amazing stories, but I am curious, is there something in addition, you just gave the smoke bomb example, which is excellent, but is there something that you can think of an event recent or even more in the past where there was something truly unexpected and you really finessed it and how you did that?
No, the bridesmaids going missing was a pretty
That's a good
night.
one. Yeah. Where were they?
You gotta hear the whole story.
I love that.
Okay, so this bride and groom are from London.
Okay.
really cool couple. Her parents were from Italian Libya. So Italian.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but their ideas of Italy were kind of 1970s, 1960s,
Mhm.
and they're Libyan Italian. They're
Yeah.
not Tuscans.
Yeah.
Because Tuscans don't dance. Tuscans don't do anything embarrassing. I think they're very stiff most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So she had all of these ideas about what the wedding should be. Being Italian, the mother did. And then the groom was a Christian refugee from Afghanistan. So he grew up, he immigrated to London, I think, when he was 8, but spent time in a refugee camp
Wow.
in Afghanistan. So really cool story.
What a story.
Really in love couple.
Aw.
She wanted to have a Catholic wedding. So we picked this venue. I'm not even going to say the venue because
Okay.
I could be liable. Anyway, we picked this venue that had a church right next to it where
Okay.
everyone could walk.
Okay.
Or we could get like a simple bus and
Right.
go back and forth, and we would stay within budget. We talked to the venue. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I think it was like 6 months before the wedding. The church said he could not do the ceremony because he had a torcicollo, which is like a neck.
Stiff neck. Like a stiff neck.
And I said, okay, well, can someone else do it? And he goes, I don't trust those foreigners. We're speaking about how Italians sometimes can be very racist. So no. So then she had 150 people. We couldn't figure out where she was going to celebrate her wedding.
No.
So we ended up having to go to Montelupo.
Okay.
I might be giving away the venue at this point, but I met a wonderful priest who opened up his doors to us, but we had to bus everyone from the venue, and the buses couldn't make a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up having to go back to Florence to make the turn and then go back to Montelupo to the church. So it ended up taking people, which took me 8 minutes in my car to get to the church from the venue, about an hour.
Oh, no.
So people were very mad when they got off the bus. And they got lost. The bus driver got lost with all of the bridesmaids on and would not pick up his phone. We're calling. It's very hot. It's July. The priest is like, Jill, I have another mass. Like, I'm like, okay, just stay. The bride is like kind of not knowing what to do. I'm like, it's okay. I'm here.
We're
I'm
going to
here
sort
with
this
you.
out.
We're going to sort this out. Nobody's going anywhere, and then they show up, and then they were hitting him with the purses. And I was like, okay, let's get this going. And the ceremony went well. We ended up having to postpone the dinner an hour, but in the end.
But you see, it's just, as I said, earlier, it's not just a job. It has all of these moving parts, and it has all of these, potential things that could happen. But as I said, it has this extremely human element to it. Like in the end, fundamentally, you have to be able to communicate. And I think that's why your clients get this. I get two feelings from you. One is that like you're competent. You can take care of it.
Yeah.
And I need
a little
that.
bit.
A lot. I need that. Like I need to know also because I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's something that I notice even in the work I do. People need a little extra push today, like to respond to emails, to make decisions. They need somebody to sort of take the reins.
Yeah.
And I think that somebody with your kind of expertise and as I mentioned, sort of an insider, I would feel very confident in trusting, my special day to you, if you will. But then there is this very human quality that not everybody has. So your ability to say, wait, this is happening. Let me find a way to sort of smooth things out. And I don't think that those are qualities, to go back to it, that like everybody has. And I think it does, if we want to go back to that question, I think that's what sets you apart in my mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people maybe clamp up under pressure.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't.
I thrive off of it.
Well, and then maybe the job chose you in a lot of ways. Like it was just a question of sort of finding that perfect fit, and this sounds like it's a perfect fit. I'm curious to go back to some of the cultural questions because I'm always intrigued by what Americans especially think of Italy. I wonder when you have sort of your first consultations with your brides and grooms, your couples, what do you find yourself consistently saying? And what kind of advice do you find yourself giving to couples who are considering getting married in Italy?
Well, a lot of times they'll ask me about different venues and things that, oh, well, do you work in Como? Do you work in Venice? Do you work down in the Amalfi Coast? And now I just work in Tuscany.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times couples don't realize how large Italy is and how culturally diverse it is. So I try to bring them down to that reality. I also, I don't know what, I think every phone call is different. I don't really ever have a script. I just kind of listen and then try to get a sense of what the couple needs from me. If it is a good fit, because sometimes it isn't. Like I had a groom ask me one time if he could buy a venue for $1 and if I would plan his wedding there.
Oh, those things, because everyone's obsessed with this. Like you can buy your dream home in Italy in those sort of,
Yeah. And I was like, I don't think this is a good fit. You know, that has happened. So
I wasn't expecting that. But like, why would you think that's like,
but you know,
I guess people who have no idea the way
no
Italy is, that
judgment.
would take like, first of all, it's probably non-existent, but that would take years.
Yeah,
even,
but no judgment. No judgment.
No.
Like it's not
just
a good
not,
fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Just not what I do. That's so funny.
And then people will ask me a lot because I do have quite a few Jewish couples. I have couples that I think last year I had a bride from Iran who was interested in getting married with me, and they asked me if I can help them with their cultural aspects of the wedding, which is no problem. In 2022, we even had a mariachi band at a wedding.
I have to say, I love this though, because I think people, it's nice that people, I don't know what the situation was, but it's nice that people want to bring also their special elements, even though it's a destination wedding. That doesn't mean that you can't have your personal touches. And I love the fact that you have such respect for people wanting to it's not even just respect, but like also the ability to make those things happen in Italy, where I don't think there are that many mariachi bands.
I did make it happen.
But you made it happen. And so those are fun things about your work too, right? Because it's like, all right, I can do this. I can find a mariachi band.
That was another one where I kind of let a couple months go by. And they're like, so what's the situation with this? I'm like, okay, you're serious about it. All right, well, I'll make it happen. Okay.
So, you thought they would just kind of like forget about it.
Yeah, sometimes they're like, and we want this. I'm like, okay. And then some months will go by and I won't hear anything. And we still want this. Okay, I'll make it happen. So I feel, again, going back to why you should pick me as the planner, you have to feel like I'm a good fit, because I am your psychologist.
Yeah.
I am your marriage counselor. I mean, going back to psychologist again, family therapist.
Right.
Brides a month before always lose their mind, like
always consistently,
so
I
nervous.
imagine. Yeah.
Will call me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm always calming down, calming them down, and then they life coach. There we go.
Yeah.
Designer.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I also have to do the same with vendors, because vendors will cry sometimes. I had an event that was so intense that I had PTSD from that event for like 4 or 5 days to go stay at my sister's because it was so intense. It went perfectly, but
it was just too much.
Vendors were crying. People were, and so I'm telling my vendors, stop crying. Go back in the kitchen. Just put yourself together. Don't let anyone see you cry,
Oh no.
So it's like you have to feel like you're the toughest nut.
Right. But how do you do that? Like when all this stuff is happening, like where you just like get it together? I mean, and nobody did people realize what was going on behind the scenes, or were you that good at finessing things that?
No, people never realize. I always want to make a calm exterior.
Everything has to look right.
And if there's problem, going back to transportation is always, now I think I've got it down pat, because the last transportation mishap I had was that one.
The missing bridesmaids bus?
In 2017. That was 2017. Wow. So I haven't had a transportation mishap since then. But, if that does happen, I have to find a way to approach the couple.
Mm-hmm.
Which the two should I tell? Which one is going to be the calmest? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes there's money involved as well. It's not my fault. But I have to tell them.
Some surprises.
Yeah. So I have to calmly approach them.
Mm-hmm.
And I always come with at least 2 or 3 solutions before I even tell the problem.
Good.
And then I let them pick. So
I like this. It's something I do as well. And I think it's important. I think you have an interesting background. You've done a lot of, in addition to your life, your personal background, but you've also had a lot of different work experiences, as have I. And I think those are things that really do prepare you to think very quickly on your feet. And so the minute something goes wrong, you already have those. You know what your options are, and you just have to put them right there and say, listen, and a lot of it is being able to read people, knowing people well, as you said, going to the right person, knowing who's going to react well, knowing how to broach, the subject. It's not easy, and it's never linear, Never. I want to go back to something that I love about you. I follow you on social media. We talked about social media. No. And I remember when we met, we have known each other for quite some time. Florence is small. Yeah. And the expat community is very strong here, especially the American sort of moms expat community. And we're both in that group, if you will. And so we have encountered each other over the years, but we recently met up. And I remember you're saying to me how much you love technology. And so I religiously follow you on Instagram. I don't like Facebook, actually.
I see you like my posts. And
I love your posts.
I like that.
Also because I mentioned, I love weddings. I really do. And the reason why I love your posts is because, in addition to all the beautiful stuff you post, and so, it's just nice to look at, you also have really useful stuff that you put up there, like tips and trends. And so I thought it'd be fun, since it's the beginning of 2024, if you could give our listeners some tips on their, Italy destination weddings, if they're planning on getting married here in beautiful Italy.
Yes.
But also, what kind of trends are you seeing for the new year? Let's talk about fun stuff.
All right, but first of all, as a wedding planner and as a human person, you heard Fosca say it. I think you should always have your wedding how you want it. That's my first tip, and you do it how you want.
Agree 100%. And don't listen to any. It's hard though, Jill. No, it's hard. Everyone has a theory. Everyone has an idea.
But I feel like if it's what you want, you make it happen.
Brava.
That's my first
and that's
tip.
A good first tip. Brava.
Even if you want a mariachi band, I'll help you with that. Trends. So bows are really in right now. Like velvety bows. They tie the bows to candles. I just found these beautiful napkins with embroidered bows on them. They're white with black bows. First, I was kind of like, what are all these bows? But I actually do quite like it. You could incorporate that somehow, maybe on a menu, on the napkin, like I said before, on the candles. I'm not sure I quite like the candles.
Yeah.
They're doing minimalistic flowers with lots and lots of candles. I believe 2 years ago, Kim Kardashian had a birthday party where she just put candles down the center of the table without even any glass containers, which is a no-no in my world for insurance reasons. But I've been noticing I've been getting requests for that a lot. Very understated tones, white, very elegant, silvers, gold is back. Whereas 3 years ago, we were more in that kind of shabby green country style. People are tending to want to elevate the space a little more. No uncovered tables. I'm saying a lot. Let's see.
That's okay. You're listing things. You're thinking about things. It's normal. No, I was just trying to visualize everything, and I was seeing all these tables and thinking about also how creative the work you do is, because you have to keep up with so many different things that are going on, right? And what kind of things are people asking you for? Like, what are your clients? Is anything changed? I mean, do you see requests that are a little, not necessarily unorthodox now, but like that would signal to you that maybe, I don't know, like.
No, I think actually things are becoming a little more traditional now. Whereas in the past years, maybe they were a little more boho style. Now things are kind of swinging back to maybe how they were in the late 90s, early 2000s style wise. I do have a couple of maximalist requests this year, which is my style for sure. But
do you like doing the more like over the top?
Yes. If it's crazy, yes. And I'm all for a great idea. For example, one of my brides is getting married in a frescoed villa.
Okay.
So she's having the dinner there. and they have frescoed statues on the wall. And she was saying, Jill, I want to, incorporate this fresco somehow in the design. So of course we're picking out flower colors and things that would go well in the room. I found these little miniature statues, classical statues, and I have a board, and they're going to be the escort cards now.
Oh, I love that.
It's tacky. It's kitsch.
No,
but it's fantastic at the same time.
No. It's, but it has to be. Don't you think also? I mean, I think about, I don't know. I organized my wedding by myself, and it was, as I said, it was a different time, but like I was far away from everybody, far away from everything. And I guess I just picked something very traditional, but in the end, it was a great party. Beautiful venue.
That's what's really important.
Exactly. The venue was beautiful. I'll tell you. I mean, it was Villa di Maiano.
Oh, I love.
It's one of the most beautiful. And our wedding, I got married at the end of May, and it was like the perfect day. 30 degrees and sunshine in the evening. It was cool. We partied. We ate well. It was just like.
Did you have the party inside the ballroom?
I did, actually. And then because it was May, they didn't want to seat us outside, but we ended up having the whole aperitivo outside, the ceremony outside. It was beautiful. I'll show you the pictures someday. I still have them. They're not digital, but I still have them.
No, but you had a great wedding. I can already tell.
But it was extremely, all I cared about was that people ate well, drank well, and that the place was beautiful.
Well, you got all three of those.
And even though the marriage didn't work out, we both agree we have a great relationship. We have a child together, but we both agree. And like my family, I was just home for Christmas. They were like, your wedding is still the best wedding we've ever been to.
That's amazing.
And to hear that, and I agree. Like it was a great wedding, but also I was just like, because I was doing it myself, let's just keep things simple. Let's focus on, I think also like Tuscany is so like, it does check so many boxes.
I agree.
So if you already have just like this insane amount of beauty, you have things like frescoes, it's just the point of departure is already really pretty good. Yeah. So you can be simple if you want to.
Do you know what I actually have been getting a lot? Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I've been getting a lot is people complaining about the grass in Tuscany.
What do you mean?
Like little patches of grass missing, or how Italians let the grass grow and you see the little daisies. A lot of North American clients have a hard time, and I sometimes cannot sell a venue just because of that.
Because they want like very manicured, just two manicured lawns?
like a manicured grassy area.
I wonder, and it's funny because as you were saying that, I was thinking about a couple of things, but like, societal changes and how those affect things like weddings. And I was thinking about like global warming and how that affects your job in a very real way. And, like how things are so unpredictable. Like I got married, as I said, in May, at the end of May in 1999.
Yeah.
Okay. So usually in Italy, that's, a good time, if you will, or it was in the past.
Still is. Yeah.
But who knows, right? I mean,
I've had a wedding in August and it's rained. So
right. You just have no idea. You just have no idea. Right.
You have to plan.
I just would never think that like grass would be a deal breaker.
I just think Italians don't keep things as neat. It's maybe not a priority for them, and they like things to be a little bit more wild.
I think it's a little more authentic as well. Like also the sort of, think about the Tuscan landscape is so pristine, so perfection. But there has to be like the authenticity of it, right? Yeah. The reality of it. Sometimes you go to like wedding venues in the States and it's just so picture perfect. And they're like that here too. But as you said, maybe it's because the country is so old.
But the Italian grass, this is something funny. So my dad was military. You've heard that a couple of times. He was he still is obsessed with grass. Like obsessed. Like he'd be there every Saturday morning fixing the grass. And then when I first moved here and I saw the little daisies in the grass, I was like, they have a lot of weeds. That was the first thing I thought. And the Italians told me, no, we're letting it grow so you can see the flowers. Yeah,
we have flowers in my garden here at home. And I love them.
I'm like, that is amazing. Like, why did we never do that?
But you know how, like, in the States, there are rules, like
too many
in certain neighborhoods.
Too many.
Your grass can't be more than, and people get really angry
I know.
about it. Anyway, I love the idea of societal changes and how you sort of deal with that as a wedding planner, because couples have changed in so many ways. Thank goodness over the past, I don't know how many years, society is changing rapidly. So I talked a little about, this is like a provocative question also because I know you only plan weddings in Tuscany, but I want to hear how you reason. Okay. I want to pretend I'm your client.
Okay.
All right. So I'm divorced.
Okay.
I had my dream wedding in Tuscany.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to the idea of getting married again. I actually quite like it because I'm a hopeless romantic.
Okay.
If I were to get married again, though, I would want to do it in Venice.
Okay.
I would
Venice.
I love Venice. I would have guests from all over the world because my partner is from the Venice area.
Okay.
And I'm from the US. So guests of all ages from all over the world in Venice, a logistical nightmare, Jill. Well, it can be complicated.
Yeah.
I want to do it on New Year's Eve. We are a blended family.
Okay.
How do you, what would you do in a case like mine? Like, what would you propose to me?
Okay. So if you were my client, first of all, I would ask you your budget. The divorce part, I don't care. Like, it doesn't make any.
Okay.
I want to know what's important to you, like how many people you want.
Right.
You have a blended family. How old are your kids?
Mm-hmm.
What part do they play in the wedding? I have had blended families that don't want to have their kids invited to the wedding.
My daughter wants to be in an eventual wedding.
She's like,
should. I want you to get married again so I can be in the wedding this time. She's 16.
That's great, though.
Yeah.
That's good.
So she would want to be in the wedding.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would find out what was important to you. And then we'd look for a venue together. And then I'd find out the logistics, how you get there. Can your guests walk?
Well, that's it. Because I was thinking about that. And that, I think it's thinking about sort of how we live today, or I'm thinking about like my situation personally, and when I got married, I was 28. My parents were like my age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that's, it just would be anyway.
Well, I actually have a personal experience with Venice and having an event there.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Of course. So I do know a guy, because in Venice, it's all about, I know a guy who will meet you
in Italy. It's kind of also like, I know someone who will, right?
Well, it's also because I am pathologically extroverted. And I will talk to anyone.
Me too. I pick up people everywhere. Everywhere. It's embarrassing how many people I pick up on a daily basis.
My husband gets extremely embarrassed by it. Yeah, I remember being in a Czech bus station because I'm Slovak and like being like, hey, I'm Slovak in English and doing like sign languages, asking for direction. My husband's like, Jill, those are homeless people. I'm like, homeless people are people too. They know
they can give me directions.
And they gave me the directions.
See?
And my husband was like, I could tell they were fine. He was like, don't ever do that again. So, I met a guy in Venice who has a boat, who can pick everyone up from the airport and they'll take you to the airport or the island, the bus island.
Nice.
And then he'll ferry you into San Marco.
Perfect.
I also picked hotels for this event because I had 2 people in wheelchairs, so they didn't have to cross any of the bridges.
That is amazing. Right? How you did that's good. You're good.
And I got 2 electric wheelchairs that I had to bring from Rome, and I raced them on the way back.
Good for you, though. See?
Look at this. I'm showing.
You have the scars to prove
This
it.
is a scar from when I was getting on the Vaporetto with the scooter, and it was flooded. It was one of the flooded days.
Yeah.
And I did the.
Oh no!
I did the splits.
Well, I have fallen in Venice as well. So maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe I'll just, I'll think about it. I'm worried. I'm like, wait, budget? That's the first question. I guess.
Budget's always the
first question.
Your dreams can come true if you have the money. I'm sorry, but that's how it is.
But do you ever, sometimes do you just have to say like, no?
I say no a lot.
All the time. It's just not enough money.
Yeah.
Can you do a destination wedding in Italy on a budget? Not necessarily with you. I'm just saying like.
I think there are a lot of venues. I think it's very fashionable right now to get married abroad. I think there are a lot of venues with internal catering, internal flowers, internal everything. I know there's like quite a few near Pienza. There's one called Villa Lena. I'm giving them a little shout out because they have a wonderful internal structure. It's a
Where is that? I know the name, but I can't see it in my...
Between Florence and Pisa. I think it's a little bit past Empoli.
You know, that's an area that is gaining a lot of interest from expats.
It's cheaper.
And it's really nice. It's not over, like, it's not like the Chianti. It's not like this, even the countryside in Siena. It's still one of those places that's not totally discovered. I'm getting a lot of interest from clients also who are thinking about moving there. So it's a place in Tuscany that I'm seeing start to gain a little more recognition, if you will, traction. I was going to use the word traction.
Well, people just get scared too. I think a lot of couples get scared when they have to go outside of Florence because they think, how am I going to get around? I don't want to drive in Italy. Drive in Italy. Do it.
I drive in Italy. I know you do too.
Yes, I do. But a lot of people are scared. The younger generations are scared.
Can I say something though? There was an article in the New York Times recently. I'll try to find it and I'll send it to you. It was about how badly people are driving in America right now.
Oh yeah, they drive bad.
Terribly. I noticed post-pandemic, everything's gotten a little worse on the road, also here. But I find when I'm driving in Italy, I just have to kind of like channel my inner.
Yeah, just
I don't even know what.
Roads.
It's always
eyes ahead and carry on.
Exactly. It's funny you did exactly like the gesture. This is not a video episode, but Jill and I both simultaneously were like, okay, focus, with our eyes, like blinders. I don't know. I kind of like when I get into the car, I literally like throw on a whole different persona because I try to be like,
I'm a grandma when I drive.
Me too.
Just drive slow.
I'm the same. I'm like, oh, okay. No, I tend to speed, but I don't want to talk about that. So we're coming to the sort of the end, which I can't believe because I really like talking to you and I really like talking about this subject. But if you could plan a wedding for anyone, I mean, who would be your dream client? Have you thought about that ever? Like, is there somebody you just absolutely love? If they called you, I want to get married in Italy, in Tuscany, in Florence.
Like, are you like a celebrity?
Yeah, or just somebody you respect or idolize, or I don't know.
I can't come out with an answer to that. I feel like I've already done.
You've done some high profile,
yeah, and I loved getting to know them, and I've also had some people that were not high profile that I liked just as much. So I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that question.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll
someone nice.
Maybe you'll do my dream wedding.
Sure.
I'm dreaming of it. We just have to convince, my partner, so who's never been married and has no interest in getting married because unlike me, I'm very extroverted. He's very introverted.
Yeah. So that's my dynamic at home too.
Thank God, though, right? Because if not, too many people talking at the same time. No, I do want to ask one last question.
Sure.
But which I really do want to know because I think it brings together sort of your personal story, but also your professional prowess, if you will. You're already married, but if you were to do your wedding over, how long have you been married?
A long time.
Jill, it hasn't been. Don't say it like that. I mean, come on.
I've been married since 2006.
Okay, that is a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so how was your wedding? Was it here or was it there?
I'm an eccentric person. If anyone Facebook stalks me, they'll get to see photos of my wedding.
I'm gonna totally Facebook stalk you later.
Oh my gosh! So my husband and I eloped because my family's a little. I don't want to say cray. They are a little cray.
Eccentric. Let's keep using the word eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric. There's just a lot of different dynamics. Mm-hmm. And I knew that the dynamics would take the focus away from why we were doing it, which was we were making a vow to each other. So we eloped. And then we had a lunch afterwards. Mm-hmm. There was some other stuff that happened afterwards, family drama, but I won't get into that. And then I just had a big themed party 2 days later.
I love that though.
Yeah.
That's something that I think would work well for me, for example, in terms of Luca. Because I want the party though.
Yeah. Well, I do not throw a bad party.
I don't think you do.
Yeah. My parties are amazing.
I have a feeling they are. So if you were to, for example, renew your vows or or have a wedding because, we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary.
I'm close.
Right. What would you plan? What would be important to you right now? How,
I think my husband and I both like to travel and I probably get to experience a lot more than he does with my job, with nice facilities. I'd like to renew. This is very corny, but I feel like my husband and I renew our vows every day. I know.
I love that, Jill.
It's my best friend, and he drives me crazy, and I think that's normal for every relationship, but he's a really good guy. So,
and you have 2 kids.
I do. I have 2 great kids.
And cats.
I have 2 cats. They're awesome. My cats would be in my wedding.
Well, that's the kind of thing. Like what you've thought about.
I'd have a party.
You think about weddings all the time.
I do, but since I plan them,
right.
My husband says, Jill, you're just planning the wedding because we didn't have a big wedding. And I say, I loved our wedding. And I plan other people's weddings. It would just be you and me. We should do something, the 2 of us together.
I love that.
So
another dream of mine is sort of like just going away to Bali or something and getting married barefoot on the beach, just the 2 of us.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That's what my cousin did.
Yeah.
And then you have a party after. You're like, oh, by the way.
I just want a party.
Right. By the way, we got married. And so let's just have a big celebration and celebrate our love. And I think I want to end on that note because I love what you said. And I think there are a few things that really, really impressed me about you and your approach to your work. And a lot of things, but a few things really hit very close to home. One, that you really want couples to have their dream wedding, not somebody else's. And so the first thing that you say is that, and I think what's come out in our chat is how in love with love you are too.
Oh, yes.
Right?
That's what makes the world, it's what makes the world go round.
But it's all that matters right now, Jill. And and this is why I was so happy to be recording this podcast with you today. I'm sick of all the the doomsday stuff. I want to think about weddings and love and the future and these beautiful moments that really, make our lives worth living,
It's true.
And so you're contributing
Thank you.
to such an important thing. And I love the fact that it comes through just how in love you are with your job. And the couples that you work with, I think, are just so lucky to have you. So you said you're all booked up for 2025. I'll put all of your links in our podcast description. So you're booked up through 2025. So you're taking
4 spaces left for 2025.
For 2025. Mm-hmm. Okay. So last question.
Yeah.
If people want to get married here in Tuscany, how much lead time, Jill, do they need? A lot.
2025, I'd start now.
Okay.
A lot of there's still possibilities.
So at least a year in advance, you would say, to try and reach out?
If you have a particular venue that you want to get married at, you've probably seen it because it's very popular. So you would need more time. If you want to get married in Italy or in Tuscany, because that's where I work, a good 6 to 8 months would be needed.
Yeah.
I had a couple last week that asked me if it was possible for them to get married in 2024. And I said yes, because I believe it is still. Okay.
Would they be getting married though closer to the end?
September.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess there are multiple factors, but I just wanted to give people a time frame. So if I want to
a year and a half.
Okay. I'm going to let Luca know. I know you can't help me organize my Venice wedding, but I bet you have the contacts who can.
I would. I know a guy. I know a lot of guys.
I actually do too.
I'm sure you do.
I know a guy with a boat. I know a guy with a gondola. And we'll get it all sorted. Yeah. Anyway, it's been lovely having you here.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll come back. And maybe we can I always say this, but maybe we can do like an episode where we actually go, visit a venue or something. Wouldn't that be fun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because, we could do like a video of.
I'd love that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. And alla prossima volta. Grazie a te.
Grazie. Ciao.
Ciao.